Sure. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the August 2nd Washington County Planning Commission meeting. Present this evening are Denny Reeder, BJ Getz, Jeff Semler, Randy Wagner, and I'm Clint Wiley. The first thing on our agenda this evening under minutes, we have the July 19th, 2021 Planning Commission Public Information Meeting and regular meeting minutes. Are there any questions, changes? Hearing none, I would be looking for a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. The next item we have old business. We have WS 21-001. This is a recommendation for the town of Hancock. The proposed text amendment to the Washington County Water and Sewer Plan or Sewerage Plan to support the proposed upgrade and expansion of the wastewater treatment plant. So this one was on our agenda last month's agenda, which was just 2 weeks ago. And we discussed it. And my fault, failed to take action on that. So we did our discussion, but I failed to call a vote. But does anyone need a refresher? Deb, do you have anything you want to?
No, we just need to have a formal vote on this because of what the item is.
Everybody from the press here to it's my fault, everybody. So this should have been voted on last time, and I didn't call the vote. I went right on to the next item. So is there any discussion about this? You pretty much all handled it 2 weeks ago.
I can't vote on it.
No, you abstain.
It's going to come to you, yeah. So I'd be looking for a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? One abstention.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Under other business, we have the first item, demolition permit recommendation. Proposed demolition of a 535 square foot wash house outbuilding. Property is located at 20342 Road. And Megan is the planner. Good evening, Megan. How are you?
Good evening. Megan Jenkins, Washington County Planning and GIS Coordinator, and I also work with our Historic District Commission. So before you is this demolition permit. The Historic District Commission saw this permit at their July meeting. This permit is for a wash house and outbuilding that was previously used as storage. There are some pictures provided to you of the property. The way the house is currently facing, the owner enters the property at the side of this building, and they want to turn that side of the house into the front of the house. And that building is in the way of that. And it also is what they consider a hazard to their children on the property as far as its current status. So they would like to get rid of it so that they can clearly see their children when they're outside, that kind of thing. The structure is listed within the Maryland Inventory of Historic Properties, and it is specifically mentioned in the inventory of that property as a contributing structure to the farmstead. It is of similar construction to the original house, and the HDC's position was that the building could continue to be used as storage. Why demo it now? It's still in fairly good condition. It just has a few pieces of brick that need pointing, and some of the window sills need updated. You also had before you a memo where the HDC requested that I write to you about exactly why we're seeing these permits. So I'm here to answer any questions you may have about the permit and the memo contents, and we're seeking a recommendation from you on whether or not to recommend this permit be for demolition.
Thank you. Any questions for Megan?
In the picture, this is the structure they're talking about right here.
And it apparently has a cistern in it, and then, like I said, we're using it as storage previously.
Has a cistern inside of it.
Inside of it, yes. The Historic District Commission, of course, doesn't look at interior uses. They're strictly looking at the exterior of the
And the house is directly behind. Would this come before? if- The house is directly behind, and that's what they're
Yes.
complaining about?
They are directly adjacent. It's maybe 25 feet.
So,
Pretty close.
so I can't really tell from this picture, but is this an addition to the house? So
I think
it's
they enclose
attached
a back porch or it's a partial addition, yes.
and it's attached to the actual main structure of the house?
Now, the outbuilding is not.
No. This tan
Yes,
structure.
that
here.
is part of the house.
What, do you know the space from that?
Here's a Google Earth if you want to see it. I'll pass it around.
They're very close.
Leave it to realtors.
When I was there, it's probably about, like I said, about 15 to 20.
Yeah.
They're not very far apart.
Yeah, I think it's less than 20.
Yeah, they're close.
It's not more than that.
So explain the mechanics to me one more time. I should know what I've done. They go in to get a demolition permit. It's listed as historic. And then what happens right after that?
Once it's listed, if it is listed, then it would come before the HBC. They would route it to me and I would confirm that it is. And then I go out and take pictures of it and all that fun stuff. And it gets on their next agenda. They review it for a recommendation of approval for the permit or not approval, a recommendation for the demolition to go forward or not. That recommendation, if it is recommended that the permit not go through, it would come before you. And then either way, if you recommend in favor or not in favor, that's
So
where
this
it
could come
ends.
before me, correct?
No, it doesn't go any farther than that.
Just needs a planning permission approval to get a demolition permit.
Right.
Because the Historical Society denied it.
They recommended denial. It's not an actual approval or denial by either entity. It's a recommendation.
Yes.
The whole point of the process is that both entities, the HDC and the planning commission, have mechanisms in place that they can provide to property owners and assist with demolition alternatives. So the point of coming before the planning commission and the HDC is to make sure that those alternatives have been explored. That, for instance, if this were to happen to be part of a subdivision or a site plan, that if there were any accommodations that the planning commission could assist with on those plans to be able to keep the historic structure, that those could be hashed out at this point in the process.
So just for conversation, so at the end of the day, it came here, it's APC, they can tear it down anyway.
So did the HD provide any demolition alternatives to the
They
applicant?
did provide some demolition alternatives, which I think Deb had highlighted in the minutes. Specifically, they asked if he had explored the cost of moving the structure, which with it being brick is like the
Not
cost
thinking
prohibitive. He does plan on salvaging the materials. I don't think I mentioned that, but he does plan on salvaging the materials.
All that.
But he is very open to demolition alternatives if there are any suggestions that the planning commission would have.
I was looking for that.
He's been very cooperative, patient with the process.
Yeah, it's a bit of a process, in some ways it's unfair, but in other ways I can understand why we have it. I don't feel that I'm qualified to provide alternatives. Recommended probably first come from the HDC. If they're only really recommending moving that structure, that's something that they haven't, they're not going to undertake because of the cost. And I think the next.
Well, it's an all brick facility with a step
Right.
foundation. You're
Right.
Taking that out there.
Well, I understand that.
They
Well,
also
not cheaply,
recommended
I do know a little bit about that business.
storage
Yeah.
as well.
right?
Since it's been there for so long, they just questioned why now,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've lived in, historic homes for a number of years. I won an award for the historic home. And I feel bad anytime you take down a structure like this, but at the same time, I also feel that the property has the right to use the property the way they want and see fit. if an alternative doesn't make sense, I don't know what you do after that.
Has the owner made any suggestions alternative on his behalf? Or has he said, well, I could do this or I could do that?
When I asked him about the list of demolition alternatives and inquired about what he had explored, salvaging was pretty much
Right.
his suggestion was that he did plan on keeping the materials on site for future reuse, especially the roof is metal, so he was planning on reusing that, and keeping the bricks on hand in case he had any additional projects that they could use. As far as keeping it, he said that working around it, it's really not an option because of the site issue that he has from the existing house that they use. So his plan is really to remove the structure and salvage.
So, point of clarification, I guess. If indeed demo, so if he is in that demo permit to fill the cistern, I mean, if the cistern is actually a safety concern, then to me, the next step is you fill it. You don't just take the building off the top of it and walk away.
There is a final inspection after they complete the demolition permit, and I am under the assumption that that would be addressed at that time. As I mentioned, the agency doesn't get into the interior use of the structure. It wasn't brought up in the meeting. I can always check on that afterwards, but it would be my understanding that that would be addressed as part of the site cleanup at the end of the demolition.
Do we have the ability to put that as a final stipulation? Let's say we say, okay, if he wants to remove the structure, fine, but as a part of the demolition permit, that cistern has to be filled.
I can make that comment. I'm not sure that this
Definitely.
body has any control over it, but I can definitely
I
make
think
that comment in the letter that I sent to the customer.
He'll definitely fill it.
Yeah, I would imagine that.
I would imagine it would be part of the inspection process, but I can definitely make a specific comment about that. We send a follow-up letter after each.
Yeah, it's sort of sad because it's his property, it's his building. And it's historic and I appreciate that. But there's never any, I've heard a couple of these and there's never any solution to how can we help you? You know, how can we help you restore? How can we do? It's always the burdens on the owner.
There's no incentive for the owner to keep. Right. And we've had that conversation.
And that's the part that drives, sort of bothers me a little bit.
3 years.
The burden's always, we had it here last year. Burden's on the owner.
Well, and the cost factor, probably, but not many people want to spend twice the money at restoring an old place as putting a new one up.
This,
That is the number one thing.
just from a picture standpoint, I mean, this building does not look that we've seen some real whoppers come in, you know, with
The
stuff
entire
that,
property is well maintained.
so,
You could see it.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and
I know it.
I mean, property owner, use of the property, functionality of the property with visibility to the barn. I mean,
I think utilizing the property on this, you know.
There's not any bed and breakfast tourism where someone can say, oh, people flock to see this building.
No, and there was a picture in there included where it is minimally visible from the road.
Yeah, I saw that. It's pretty much,
it's way back in the
It's
lane.
pretty far back.
Yeah,
But it does contribute, like I said, to the farmstead. So it is an outbuilding that was there at the time of survey and has been there with similar construction to the main house, which is why it was considered important.
I don't think it's a double standard. When we talk about this solar stuff, everybody says you don't own the view. Well, here, I mean, this guy owns this building. He wants to take it down. Other people don't own the view. Take it down.
I agree.
Yep.
That's where I was.
If you need a motion, I'll make
It's
it.
his property.
Is there any further discussion? If there's no discussion, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion.
We've got a motion.
Second.
Second. Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So just for the record, we're not recommending how we want to put this.
We're not opposed.
We're not
to
opposed.
demolition.
Opposed.
Not opposed to demolition.
Got
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to make sure we got that right on the record. So we're not back here in a month to clarify. Keep me straight.
But we're here and there now.
Right. Next on our agenda, under other business, we have Oak Ridge Investments LLC truck terminal waiver request from section 13.0 of the Washington County zoning ordinance for the requirement to provide public water and sewer facilities in an industrial restricted zoning district. Property is located at 55 West Oak Ridge Drive. With the planner, Rebecca, how are you doing?
Plan review. So we've heard a few of these in the past couple of meetings. So this one is for Oak Ridge Investment LLC truck terminal, for the waiver, for the requirement of public facilities for the industrial restricted, zoning district for proposed truck terminal. And that is, section 13.6F of the zoning ordinance. Mr. Hager is here tonight, on behalf of his client. His letter pretty much summed it up. I did get email confirmation from Kellen Douglas with City Utilities of the distance of the existing water and sewer, and that they have no plans to extend it. And I also got an email from Kimmy Armstrong with environmental health that they did not object to the request so long as all of their requirements are met of the development. So.
Any questions? Go
This
ahead.
is where they're requesting a well and a septic, correct?
Correct.
Does staff have any problem with it?
I mean, it's
Cut and dry.
forward.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have a choice.
Any questions for Adam? Oh, drag them all the way down here. Figured I'd offer you up to the wolves.
I guess I will say for the,
Fred told him to get out of the office.
Yeah, right.
I will say for the record, the site address was incorrect on the agenda. It is 1432 and 1448 Oak Ridge Place. So not the 55 West Oak Ridge Drive property. This is the one up from.
Okay. That's good. All right. Any further questions or comments?
I'll make a motion.
We've got a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
I don't think, I saw zoning, so.
Yeah.
Bye.
Opposed?
Zoning scares me.
Understood. Understood.
See you, Adam.
Hey, thanks, Adam. You could have stayed there.
Is that my next?
Next under the agenda, under other business, we have update of staff approvals. Rebecca's handling this as well.
So good evening. I understand you guys have already been forwarded the monthly summary. You all are already aware, Ashley has resigned. So in the interim period, I guess I'll be providing these updates. Rich Eichelberger with the Division of Construction is actually the acting director for the time being, but I'll be filling many of the roles that Ashley filled in terms of plan review. So you guys are welcome to reach out to me if you were to have reached out to Ashley in that capacity. So questions?
Well, we all had an opportunity to take a look at those. They were emailed last week sometime. And all had an opportunity to review them. Are there any questions? Any comments? We're busy still,
Still busy.
which is a good thing, I think.
Plans are still on end.
Keep on coming. Yeah.
I like the printouts. It's nice that we get to see what's going on throughout the whole county.
I do too.
Really like that.
All right, then. I won't make you stay any longer.
Thank you.
Sure. So the next item this evening is the comprehensive plan update. These are the final comments on chapters 1 through 4 and review of chapters 7, 8, and 9. And Jennifer and Wyatt are up. Good evening.
Good evening. Jennifer Kinzer, Deputy Director of Planning and Zoning. With me tonight is Wyatt Stately, Comprehensive Planner in our department. We're here to take any formal comments you have on chapters 1 through 4, which were handed out last month, and to talk about the proposed schedule moving forward. We'd like to keep this on schedule, on task as much as possible. So I'm going to give you a brief summary per Jill, who is on a nice, much needed vacation this week. So as a quick summary, Chapter 1 of what you received provides a brief introduction of the purpose, legal basis, and framework of the comprehensive plan for Washington County. A general history of its early settlements, development timeline, and a geography are provided. Chapter 2, which is what she really wanted you guys to focus on, lists the county's visions and goals moving forward for the next 20 years. The vision and mission statement, which were recently adopted by the Board of County Commissioners, are provided there, along with the 12 state visions that are required to be in the plan. Additionally, we have added 9 visions of our own in the plan. So those are the ones that we were looking specifically for comment on. They are on page 2-3, in case you're not sure exactly where they are. So we want to know whether they seem practical and worthy of pursuing in the next 20 years. Chapter 3.
2-3.
Yeah, this was the ones that were in last month.
Last month.
We got a.
I was in chapter 7 one, so did I miss something? Yeah.
Right.
We're here to talk about chapter
Yeah,
4.
yeah, so these are the ones that were included, and we had a brief overview of them
Correct.
during the
Last
2 weeks ago, during the 2 weeks ago, right.
Yeah, you're good.
So chapter 3 lists the goals that were met from the 2002 comprehensive plan, and chapter 4 delivers a general demographic profile of Washington County. Tonight you were given chapters 7, 8, and 9 for your review. We obviously don't expect you to have any comments on those tonight because they just reached your hands, but I'm going to give you a brief overview of those, and then we can discuss chapters 1 through 4 and how you want to move forward from there. Chapter 7 is the housing element, which as of June 1st, 2020, is a requirement of the state to be included in the comprehensive plans. This section focuses on the quality of the housing stock and specifically provides detail on workforce and affordable housing options in Washington County. Note that some of the data in that chapter is only through 2018. We are Wyatt and I are working diligently to bring data up to December 31st, 2019 for the final version. So if you see some discrepancies between 2018 and 2019, we're going to adjust that in the final draft. Chapter 8 is the transportation element. It makes reference to our unique location at the crossroads of Interstate 1781. It focuses on a multimodal transportation system that includes interstates and other roadways, bicycles and pedestrian paths, public transit options, and the Hagerstown Regional Airport. This section focuses on making connections of all types to improve mobility options for the citizens of Washington County. Chapter 9 discusses economic development. An economic history and profile are given. A workforce analysis, employment projections, and state objectives like increased biotech efforts are listed. Tourism and agriculture sectors are also explored. So that is my 30-second in a nutshell. Yeah, just of what's in there. So we're here tonight to take your final comments on chapters 1 through 4, which Jill presented last time. If you haven't, specifically looking at the goals on page 2-3.
First of all, I thought
Any discussion?
the first chapters were very well written. I thought they were well done.
So, there's 9 goals and objectives that staff's worked on over the past 6 to 8 months to come up with that relates to the overall encompassing vision and purpose of the plan. And then we will have, I'm going to go ahead and put this out there. We need to decide, or you all need to decide whether you want to have a workshop meeting on August the 16th to specifically address chapter 7, 8, 9, which you'll be given tonight, knowing that at your regular public meeting on August 30th, we will have a public input meeting on RZ 2105.
Right. Yeah, so essentially Monday the 30th might be a pretty busy one. So 2 things, right? First of all, I want to see the first thing is we need to make sure we're bringing these with us. Everybody, we need to make sure we're bringing these with us to the next meeting, so we have them in front of us. Since I realize a number of you probably don't have them, if you're not comfortable making any recommendations on chapters 1 through 4 tonight, we can hold that to the next meeting. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
Did you receive paper or was it electronic chapter?
They were in paper. because I forgot to bring mine too, but I read through them and I'm comfortable, but I'm not sure if everybody else is.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, I didn't bring them, but I read through them and I thought they were, one of the things that really strikes me is they talk about America, Maryland being American in miniature, but if you look at you guys did a great job on the demographics, which I kind of like statistics anyway. But, you know, it's pretty straightforward. I do have a question about this one when we get to it, but I thought the goals and objectives were well stated.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time. I enjoyed reading, especially history. It brings a lot. You covered a lot in detail. Excellent job. I don't see anything I would add or change, to be honest with you.
That took you a couple weeks to do all that, didn't it?
Turned it in on a Monday. She did it on Friday. She worked the weekend.
I had
She
help.
stayed,
Let
she
me-
stayed up till midnight the night before it was due, just kind of like, you remember how you used to do that, right?
Cramming.
Right, just, you
Yeah,
know,
I have to
that
give
paper's
credit
due
to Wyatt.
tomorrow.
He has taken the lead in wordsmithing all the drafts because we have been working on this project for about 5 years now since we did the original stakeholder meetings back in 2016, and then we had some additional meetings in 2018. And then Wyatt came on board in December, and he was basically dumped all the drafts of all the copies of everything we had done in his
Right.
lap and said,
I'm sure you've
Figure it
seen,
out.
it's been a huge moving target the whole
right,
time.
right.
It's like you got to update your housing. It's just crazy compared to what 18 was. So that's going to take a whole bunch to do. I commend you guys for putting all that work into it. I really do.
staff has made the official decision that this comprehensive plan will carry data through December 31st of 2019 because of the pandemic and the changes to the data. And we don't know whether that's going to be a short-term impact or how long of an impact. So that is the official cutoff for any data or any analysis. Just so you know, moving forward, that 2020 kind of didn't exist.
I understand. I think that's pretty wise to do. And then we know that you're under the gun too from a time perspective. You know, this is going to be into the state.
Right, and Deb sent you, and this is my markup copy of the schedule to
Right.
try to keep us on track to
Saw
get
that,
it
yeah.
finished by the end of the year and out for a formal draft in January.
Mhm.
So we need to stay on task with the review and comments.
We had a lot of workshops with all the townships, which gathered a lot of information. I went to almost all of them. It was really interesting, all the townships. You plugged all that together for it. So in the final draft, everything's completed. Do we have to go back to any of them townships, or it's just all county staff now? We know.
There will be other additional public input meetings moving forward. I was here when we did the 2002 comprehensive plan, and then we had 4 public meetings at different spots throughout the county to take public input, plus a copy of the document will be in each library, and it will be published in the Herald Mail and online, and it'll be available on our website.
So I went to, because I went to a lot of them too. I think they were the urban rezoning. It was to surround Clear Spring and
Oh, yeah.
how fired up they were about the idea of having, any growth in the town. So
Yeah, it was quite interesting,
Yeah.
but it gathered a lot of information.
got a lot of great information.
And a lot of input from different people's viewpoint.
I'll never view traffic through Sharpsburg the same way again. Well,
That's true. I forgot about that.
it's pretty interesting to hear the perspective of the people who live in our towns and communities and have those conversations. But we have to get the draft together first before we can do that.
So you can expect probably 4 public meetings after the draft is put out for review by the citizens. And they should come in the early to spring of 2022. But we're just trying to assemble and get planning commission's blessing on what we put out to draft.
Sure. So are we comfortable with, giving our blessing to chapters 1 through 4? If we're not yet, another couple of weeks, we're going to fill the process. We'll
Right.
still be on time. So I just want to make sure.
Right. The biggest decision you need to make tonight is when you want to review chapters 7, 8, and 9.
And you're saying August 16th?
Monday.
We had tentatively.
It was
told-
on that
Right.
schedule that I
Right.
had given you all a few weeks ago.
I can't
Hold on my calendars real quick because the schedule moves around, unfortunately, like
I'm just thinking
The additional meetings will begin at 6.
in the morning.
And we expect you to bring donuts and coffee.
Hey, we have a 6.
At 6 in the morning, I'm here.
I like.
I
the way
can
you
be here
think
at
that.
6.
6 is perfect.
Let's put it this
If you
way, it's a lot
want to do
easier.
5:30, it's fine.
It's a lot easier for me to do 6 a.m. in the summertime than it is in February, just saying.
Does that mean we got to pay overtime or comp time?
Normal time.
So can we
Bring
get a
donuts, I'll bring
consensus of who can be here on the 16th?
Are we doing it
I can't.
virtually or in person?
At this point, from what we know, it will be in person.
I can be here.
I can make 16.
Yeah.
I can be here.
Danny,
Yeah.
Randy?
Yeah. I just got back from vacation. I may not be awake.
Well,
but I
that's
can be-
okay.
I may not be functioning.
Now,
Well, that's fine. It's just the pile of stuff that'll be on my desk when I show up at my office at 1 in the morning.
Did you say it's 36?
Yes.
If,
16th.
if I have
any.
any comments, I'll get them to,
Please email them
I'll get
to
them to
me.
the two of you.
Yeah.
If I have any comments on chapter 7, that way you have them.
We'll make sure.
I'll get them to the, I'll get them to Clint, to you, and to Deb.
That would,
That way they can go on record.
okay, and I'll contact, David
Yes.
and let him know that we are going to have a meeting on the 16th at 6 p.m.
Right.
And it will be, I guess we might, no. Let's do it. I'm not sure which room I have scheduled. I'll let you know
You can
which
just let us
room.
know.
It will either be this room or it will be the workshop room
Next.
next door. So.
We have to walk by it to get here, so we'll be all right.
I already
Jeremiah, we
scheduled the
understand if
room.
it's not raining, you might not be here.
I should be here.
Okay? Trying to give you an out.
I was gonna say it's been so long since I was here. I was late because I got lost.
I was.
You stay out of downtown as much as possible.
We had to show ID. We couldn't even get in.
I came in with Denny. I thought the county sheriff downstairs was going to escort us both out.
Well, I had my.
I was like,
I
next
mean-
time I'll wait and come in.
Right,
with
I mean, you came in with him, that's your.
right.
You
I
should
was
know
like,
better.
what was I thinking?
Right.
Waiting for
So-
Rebecca. I had
Yeah,
no trouble getting.
So
Yeah.
once the
Just follow
entire
her.
plan
We'll
is
wait.
done, then it goes out to the public. So it's presented in a comprehensive way in 4 different areas.
It also goes online, does it not? I mean, it'll be online.
Hard copies will be available at each of the libraries. And we will have, I'm gonna guess, about 4 public information meetings to take any comments or questions from the citizens.
Because this is really designed to shape the next however many.
Right.
Keep in mind, when you're reading through these chapters, they haven't had their final scrub, so.
Well, I'm just,
Grammar and punctuation. that's
Yeah,
what
I'm just-
has to
I
be
mean,
done.
thinking out loud, this is intended to shape the county for the next 10 years.
Right.
So economically, publicly, we don't talk about this enough, I think, in a broader fashion during that time frame.
This is one of my favorite things about being on the planning commission is these broader kind of scope projects that we get to work on. This is our chance to sort of put a stamp in a way on.
I agree.
I just think that when this is all done, my perception, I've been around here a long time, done a lot of business, a lot of financing in this community. And, if this 2002's comp plan, it's almost like it gets done and it gets shelved, with the exception of the planning commission when somebody's going to do something.
Yes.
And just spending enough time in a broader fashion of more people understanding what it is can do a lot of good.
And that's why I
Going forward.
It
think
can be referenced a lot more than what it is.
That's my point. I
It can be
mean,
referenced a lot more.
this becomes the guide for where we want to go.
Moving forward.
How do you shape that
and one thing
going forward?
this plan does, that
In a
the
broader way.
2002 plan didn't specifically call out, is this actually has a works accomplished since the 2002. So I mean, yes, it's only 3 pages long, but it lists the things that were outlined in the 2002 comprehensive plan that actually went through and happened, which I think is good to help people see how it actually functions in everyday society.
So task completed, just not to get into a real deep discussion, from what your summary of tasks completed since 2002. Example, was there 100 tasks to be completed and we completed 40? Just take a guess. I mean, is it 1/3, one half of the tasks that were in the.
Probably a third would probably be realistic. We haven't totally evaluated all the goals and objectives from each chapter to see where they need to be massaged moving forward, but we did have a rural rezoning and decrease the density to push the development to the growth area where water and sewer and other public utilities. We did have a comprehensive urban growth area rezoning to add and take away uses that were no longer needed or new uses like solar arrays.
That was all important stuff.
So it's all important stuff. And they were big items that took many, many years. The rural area rezoning took 3 years, and then the urban area rezoning took probably 3 years also from this time we started working on it. So they're not, something, it's not like a rezoning that even turns around in 6 to 12 months. They're a longer process.
So what's the time frame? When is it? We're doing it now. Then once we're done, what happens next?
Once we're done, it'll be all put into a draft and be put out for public comment. There'll be the meetings held in the spring of next year. And the planning commission, I believe, will make a recommendation to the board of planning commissioners, and the commission will hold a public hearing, and then the document would be adopted. And I know that Jill is shooting to have that done sometime in 2022.
Right.
So
got a little bit off topic. Are we ready to make a recommendation on chapters 1 through 4? I mean, if we're not, I'll just, this is the third time I've said it, we're fine waiting until August 16th.
right. You don't have to add, we can wait.
I think
Fine.
I thought it was well done. I don't have anything to change or add, but I'm just one member, so
We're good.
I think you've got consensus. You do, yeah, we've got a that.
Thank you very much. And if you have any questions along the way, you have all of our contact information. So
Sure, absolutely.
you don't have to save your
Quick
questions. Sure.
This is my first time through all this kind of stuff. And when I look at page 8.-5, which I know we're not there yet, but I just want a point of clarification. What kind of things are you going to look at when you come from work from? Because if we haven't learned anything, the pandemic has changed a lot of way of thinking of where people. I don't, and
If they've changed it long term or not,
well, that's true, but that's what I'm saying is what kind of crystal balling, if you will. I mean, I don't know if that's a professional term or not, but for me it is.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that's probably professional enough. I mean, I think that, and I'm not trying to speak for you, but I think that's one of the reasons you're sort of cutting off December 31st, 2019, right? Because it's just such an unknown right now.
Yeah, I mean, I have some friends and some relatives that work for Johns Hopkins University, and they said they'll never come back. Now, never's a long time. I understand that.
Right.
But, and then the other question of when you use the word connectivity here, it means one thing, but what about the other connectivity when it comes to rural internet access? Is that in the plan somewhere?
You have to refrain from this conversation.
Right.
Do I have to recuse myself? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that item would be covered in the community facilities chapter, which is going to be chapter 10, which you'll see next.
Right. You also have to understand that there's a lot changing there too. I mean, the state of Maryland has just earmarked $300 million for, underserved locations for internet, earmarked for internet deployment in underserved areas. Underserved areas can also mean the city of Baltimore in some neighborhoods too, though. But,
Sure.
I've been in almost constant contact with both the governor's office as well as different state legislatures about trying to make sure we get our share in Washington County and in Western Maryland. And I think there's a strong possibility that will happen, and that it may not rely on just one current county-wide internet provider to provide those services. Throwing that out there.
As we're writing this, and forgive me, I didn't see it, but somewhere early on, do we reference the fact that because due to the pandemic, we have cut it 2019 within the plan?
When I read
Are we
the
referencing it?
reference in there to the pandemic and the changing kaleidoscope.
So we
if you will.
stopped because we're uncertain
Right. And we have.
I think that would be
staff-
important to make sure that that's very clear in the
We've
document.
had staff discussions about exactly what you said, because we've heard certain state agencies have given up their leases on their rental spaces and they're going to be working from home, or they've gotten a new office where everybody comes in 1 day a week.
Right.
That sort of thing. So you have a desk that's, being used by a different person 5 days a week. So we have talked about that in specifically like our downtown core type areas, or more commercial mixed use areas that we may need to give emphasis more to the mixed use commercial retail trade versus office space, because office space may not be in a demand like it used to be.
And it's declining.
Well, and it's going to be interesting though, if long-term that stays. And I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but you get young people into the workforce, how they get trained and work from home. You just really can't do that.
In a professional atmosphere,
It's going to be difficult.
there's no way that it can, because I'll give you an example. An attorney down in Baltimore has been out since the pandemic. And he said when he's in office, he can call the associate down the hall, hand them the document and say, go do this, this, and this, and bring it back to me. And he comes back and he marks it up and sends them back. With them not being in the office, he's going to send in an email. He's going to set up a Zoom call. He's going to have the young associate do the work. Then he's got to set up another Zoom call to review it. He just does it himself. So that training aspect, that institutional knowledge aspect, all of that is going to be hard in a longer term atmosphere to be completely remote.
And I know
There are some jobs that can,
So,
but
right. But I know we're a long way from Wall Street, but I know that all those big banks and Wall
they're
Street
already
are saying
returning.
they say they can't train anybody. They can't do it.
New York's starting to return already.
Can't do it. And not to say that certainly a different community than that one, but I still think that you're going to find some of the same issues, in small towns and small businesses as you're going to find in the very largest ones. So I think it's too early to say one way or the other. I just think you need to give it more time, to let it play out a little bit.
yeah, I agree. Time.
And I think that's why it might be wise to say, well, let's cut it off here so we can give it time for until the next one.
And certainly make reference to that
Yeah.
in the document.
Yeah, I just think it's very important that we are very clear that we have cut it off in 2019 because of the uncertainties that came out of the pandemic and where that lies in the future. I think it just has to be real clear.
And I think you're right. I think that's a good idea. Let's reference that.
Other than that, I thought chapters 1 through 4 were very well done.
I did as well. Yep. You're to be commended so far. We're not going to let you off the hook for the rest of
Vote of kudos to everybody.
Yes, it was an entire staff effort. So. All right. Thank you very much.
it. Yeah, thank you very much.
If Jill's here, we'd be here at about 10. You did good.
Now she'll want to send me every time.
We might make her.
What'd you say? Even Wyatt did a good job.
Why you're awful quiet?
I mean, first time and all.
Wyatt's good.
Why, it's all right.
Wait till next time.
Even though I was here, he won't come back.
Before we get to adjournment, though, I really would like to learn about the history of ice cream. Does anyone know where I can find information on that?
I do.
I'm kidding. I really enjoyed that article in the paper. Just thought I'd tease you a little bit about that.
I liked it too.
All right, we're looking for a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just a reminder, we have an upcoming meeting on Monday, August 13th. There'll be I'll get to that. Yeah, there'll be both a public rezoning information meeting and a regular meeting. And then before that, on the 16th, which room is to be determined yet, we'll have our